Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday evening live stream. We got a lot of things to go over. Let's just jump right into it. Actually, no, take it back. Before we jump into it, I just want to read the temperature of the room. This is gas fee fees, and I think he is echoing the sentiment of pretty much everybody in the crypto market. I'm beginning to get fed up with this roller coaster. If that's you, sound off in the live stream comments, and if you're watching this video afterwards, just want to see if everybody is just like comfortable with this situation that's going on as we just kind of parse sideways forever, or if you're like, no, this is not what I signed up for. Just kind of getting the read the temperature of the room. But today, let's talk about what's going right. I think there's more things going right than wrong. That's for quite honestly. And we talked about this a couple of days ago. The new set of rules for 2026. We said there's pretty much 4 pillars that we need to look for if we want to see some price appreciation and the whole number go up type of thing, which is liquidity, economy, institutions, and regulation. Now, you can check out this video. Again, it was like 2 or 3 days ago. We talked about this. Today, we're going to sidestep the liquidity. That's a big debate. Anybody can say, well, global M2 money supply is all-time high. M2 money supply for the United States is 22.843 trillion. And of course, yeah, there is a ton of liquidity, but let's talk about the economy, institutions, and most importantly, regulation, which I think is going to bring in a lot of institutions. And unfortunately, with institutions comes TradFi, and they make their own rules. So first things first, as far as economy goes, this is from Walter Bloomberg, and I like summaries, makes things very easy to digest. U.S. December non-farm payrolls, 50,000 month over month, estimated 60,000. Not too bad. And they rose 50K. So we had a little bit of a downtrodden, not too bad. Unemployment rate, though, dropped. 4.4%, estimated 4.5. Again, not too sexy, but it is what it is. Average hourly earnings rose 0.3%, which is a plus 0.3, and that was the estimation month over month. And December average hourly earnings rise 3.8, estimated was 3.6%. So I know people say, well, that's not what happened to my pay raise. And I hear you. It doesn't seem like these are the things that are going on, but these are just the small incremental moves. Unfortunately, sometimes good news is bad news and bad news is good. And what does this mean for Feds cutting rates? Well, if the unemployment rate is dropping, Jerome Powell and the gang will probably say, why are we going to cut rates? And if we take a look at the CME group, the current target rate is 350 to 375, and you got a 95% chance they're going to keep it there. So if you're pricing in rate cuts, don't price those in because it looks like you got a 5% shot of that happening on 20th of January. So rate cuts probably off the table, probably move more sideways. And if you checked out gas fee fees, what he said, I'm tired, boss. And that's pretty much what it is. So we've got that part, but here's some good news. And I like this stuff. We're going to diverge away a little bit. We'll get into digital assets and crypto, and there's a big, huge announcement that's kind of flown under the radar. I need to cover a little bit more, but this one was good. Trump bans investors from investing. More specifically, institutional investors from buying houses. See, why is this important? This is important because over time, especially since the pandemic in 2020, 2021, moving forward, there was a ton of institution buying of single family homes, and it screwed up a lot of things, and especially the money supply or the massive quantitative easing. They were buying up homes like crazy, which causes a huge problem when you want to buy your first home or your secondary home or whatever you're trying to do. And of course, it even messes up things for people who want to rent. So Trump is stepping in and saying, hey, all these institutions that are buying up everything, and I'm, the wife, big into real estate, very difficult to buy property when everybody is throwing around a bunch of cash and they always overprice you and they buy it from under your feet. So these are the things that are actually good. This is from Kobishi Letter. I got to figure out how to say that correctly. Anyhow, this is a good one. You should follow them. Great stuff. And exactly what I said. Start of pandemic 2020, investors saw purchase account for 14% of transactions. Now that is up to 27%. 27% of these large investors, small, medium, large investors. The median age of a first-time home buyer is now 40 years old. Let that sink in. I got my first house when I was like 22, 23, and now the average age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. That is not the American dream. It's not sustainable. And if we take a look at who is buying, large, mega, medium, or small investors, there is a lot of large and mega investors buying. We're looking at 10% plus of the inventory. Actually, large and mega investors currently account for 20% of investor home purchases. Again, very difficult to buy these because what they do is they go into communities, they buy up all these houses, it raises the property value of all the houses around, and then they either go for short-term, long-term renters, or they start selling it off again as they've raised the whole price, which prices everybody out. It's a real problem. So this is more data, more mortgage applications. Existing home supply remains constrained because we can only build so much. And really what it comes down to is this. If the interest rates, which are currently pretty low, 80% of borrowers pay interest rates below 6 and 7%, or excuse me, and 73% of rates under 5%. So why would they sell it to go into a new house for a higher interest rate? They're not going to do that. So I, for one, am extremely happy that Trump is saying, I'm putting the foot down, Blackstone, you can't keep buying all these houses. And you can see the stock price, I think over, oh my gosh, this looks like a meme coin, went down. Now it went from, 163, somewhere around there, to like 146. But that's then you're looking at 2 hours. So stock erased negative 18 billion in one day. And again, that's a good thing. So let me know what you think about that in the comments section. But this is where we go to off of economy into regulation, which will lead us into institutions. This is a big thing, the Clarity Act. So we already passed the Genius Act, which is for stable coins. The Clarity Act is going to pretty much put us on the road for the institutions to say, okay, this is what we can do. This is what we can't do. This is the rails we can build. This is what we can't build. And this is how we can go forward with digital assets and cryptocurrencies and move everything and get new pipelines in, because the old banking system sucks. So when this comes in, I think you're going to see some pretty big plays. Here's what we got, though. There's a contentious issue and discussion in a push by banking industry groups to retroactively close what they perceive as a loophole in the Genius Act. Let me go back real quick. I'm sorry. So with this one, the Genius Act was supposed to be voted on last year. They tried their best. Now it looks like it's going to happen on January 15th, where they're going to push it forward. If you're not from the United States, things have to go through the House of Representatives. Then it has to be signed off by the Senate, and then it goes to the president's desk, which he will definitely sign this. So this is going to go through, as far as Tim Scott says, in January 15th. Then it has to go through whole House, that they have to approve it, Senate, and it looks like this might happen into the president's desk March or April of 2026. That's good news. That's the big thing. I'm not going to spend too much time with this. It's pretty much what it said. I just summed it up for you. But if this passes at that point, this could be a pretty big powerhouse moving forward. And this is why I think it will pass, because people like Morgan Stanley, and they're not people, I should say, they're institutions. They're not going to launch a digital asset wallet and ETFs and go heavy into crypto if they don't think that this thing's going to get actually passed. First of all, who's Morgan Stanley? Morgan Stanley is an investment management at around 1.81 trillion. Actually, they have different divisions. Total client assets, wealth and investment management, approaches almost 9 trillion. That's Q3 of 2025. They probably have more now. So you're looking at roughly $11 trillion sloshing around in Morgan Stanley. And they're the ones that are like, look, we should probably go heavier into crypto. And so they do. This is what's happening. They're going to build a wallet. That's weird. The wallet is built to support cryptos and real-world tokenized assets, or RWAs. Speaking of which, I will be going to the Puerto Rico tokenization event. That's where I live. Not a bad place to be. And I'll do some interviews and talk to some people. It's going to be fascinating. I mean, tokenization of like vehicles, land, properties, houses, apartments, everything you can think of as far as tokenization. We're going to talk about this one. Pretty big players in the space. This would be good. In September, Morgan Stanley announced that it would allow users of the E-Trade brokerage platform, which it owns, to trade cryptos, including Bitcoin. Does anybody use E-Trade anymore? Is everybody on Robinhood? That's pretty much what I use. But that's great. Morgan Stanley, I didn't know. They own E-Trade. Now they're going to allow for crypto. That's already happened. Morgan Stanley announced several crypto-related developments for 2026, including several ETF filings. I find this interesting because it's it seems like BlackRock and a couple of handfuls have already cornered the market. So it's interesting that another wealth investment fund would go into ETFs when these guys are doing so well and pretty much cornering the market. They must think there's a massive upside, just saying. The company filed applications with the US SEC on Tuesday to issue spot Bitcoin and Solana ETFs, which would be passive investment funds tracking the spot prices of these cryptos by holding them. Morgan Stanley also filed for a staked Ether ETF. Now I would get into that. A staked ETF where they hold the Ethereum, they stake it for you, and they give you the yield on top of the appreciation for the price of Ethereum within the ETF. I'd go for that. On Tuesday, I would hold spot ETH while staking undisclosed portion of the fund's ETH to earn staking income. French what I said. So this will get passed because the SEC is pretty much all on board. This isn't the Gary Gensler regime. So that'll probably get passed. That'll be one more massive institution to go through. And again, I mean, almost $12 trillion assets under management. That's pretty good. Now, will this all find into the ETFs and crypto? No, but for me, it's a positive indicator that we're in the right place at the right time. So let me just think about that in the comment section. I think this is actually pretty damn good. And then lastly, there's a couple of different stories and we'll get into a little Q&A. I found this fascinating of what's going on. I mean, geopolitical issues, that's not my strength. I mean, it's interesting to follow, especially what's been going on with the instability in the Middle East. Obviously, Venezuela, which has been hitting the top of everybody's interest meters for quite some time. But Iran, apparently going through, looks like an overthrow of the government. I'm not from Iran, so if you're from there or have family there, let me know in the comment section. Let's see what's happening. But this was fascinating. Iran is being cut off from the internet. And here's how crypto could still work. And apparently, individuals in power are just cutting off the internet across the board so they can't get any information out. Internet access has been cut off in the country as protests began over worsening economic conditions after the Iranian rial hit record lows against the US dollar. See, instability in the region. You have the rial, you have the Venezuelan currency that has just gone to essentially zero. And you can see that of why it actually be a pretty good idea to hold crypto if you actually could. Unfortunately, you don't have the internet, which is very difficult in this situation. But yeah, Cloudflare Radar says it's all gone. And it was interesting because Elon Musk actually, this is why I think when Starlink becomes a public company, it'll probably be huge. Elon Musk's Starlink satellite internet equipment can provide high-speed internet in areas. And good news, there have been calls from Musk to deploy Starlink to restore internet in the country as he did during a previous blackout in June 2025. Unconfirmed reports claim Musk has quietly granted the request. I can almost guarantee he has, because if you go on X, you see nothing but people uploading videos and images. And that's kind of hard to do when you don't have the internet. So somebody got Starlink out there and things are being uploaded right now. So this piggyback onto this article is why I was fascinated. This is Felipe DeMartini from Bitcoin Magazine. And he talks about Jack Dorsey, creator of, well, I think maybe Satoshi Nakamoto, who knows? First one to create Twitter. And then, of course, from Block, big, huge Bitcoin believer. And he actually just created a pretty big thing to allow for people to communicate, even though if they have no internet. Jack Dorsey just created a problem for every dictator in the world. In the first test in 7 days in Uganda, country goes to the polls on the 15th. Museveni's been in power since 1986. And every election, he cuts the internet every time. So this sounds like another dictator, kind of like Venezuela. 2016, total blackout. 2021, 4 days offline during the voting process. Well, that's pretty sad. Opposition can't coordinate. Then came Bitchat. I don't know if you ever heard about this. 400,000 Ugandans downloaded it. That's 1% of the population. The app uses Bluetooth mesh. Messages hop from phone to phone via Bluetooth. No internet, no server, no tower. So when people say, well, how are we going to actually transact in Bitcoin if you have no internet to move things around? Apparently, Jack Dorsey just solved that. Telecom regulator went on TV to say that they have the highest concentration of software engineers in the country to block the app. The telecom regulator at Uganda. The developers for Bitchat responded, says, you can't stop us. You can't stop Bitchat. It's free and open source. It's unstoppable. To block Bitchat, the government would have to turn off Bluetooth on every phone in the country, or confiscate the devices, or prohibit Ugandans from being within 100 meters of each other. The regime ordered Starlink to suspend operations, satellite control, fiber control, tower control. Looks like they may or may not have done it, but even if they were able to do it, you have this device that can hop things around, and you just use Bluetooth. 40 years of investment in censorship, defeated by short-range radio waves that existed since '94. And Bitchat still sends offline Bitcoin transactions. So if you were thinking to yourself, man, there's a big debasement of the currency, especially in Uganda, a lot of different places in the Middle East, and then, of course, in sub-Saharan Africa, parts of Africa, you're right. Then you could actually get into what we just talked about, and this is why we Bitcoin. So this is great news. And then also, I want you guys to be aware that there are different governments that want to seize your Bitcoin, and this is going to become more common around the world. South Korea's top court rules exchange-held Bitcoin can be seized. I don't know the specifics on this, but in the decision on December 11th and disclosed via the court's official bulletin, the court upheld the seizure of 55.6 Bitcoin, which is, it's not that much, Rob. Who cares about that? Well, I don't have 55 Bitcoin, but if I did, I wouldn't want it seized by the government for who knows what the reason was. Maybe it's because there was a real legitimate reason, or maybe it was just because there was something that they didn't like that I did. Maybe this is another incident that's happening, and they just took it from me. If that's the case, this is going to be, and this happens around the world. So just so you know, if this does happen, this is why I'm always talking about diversification of your digital assets in crypto. I personally have a bunch of ledgers. I have a bunch of TANGEMs, and I actually use premium custody iTRUST capital. And I am not going to be that guy that's here blurbing and crying to you because, I got wrench attacked, or someone took something, or the government breaks in. I don't know where you're at. So I diversify. They can't take them all. I don't even have them on me. So it's just something for you to consider if you are worried about these things happening. And it's not just the government. Stuff like this happens. This is a story today. Masked gunman tie up woman in France, steal her crypto USB. And this is the thing. People say, oh, well, she shouldn't have posted on social media that she has Bitcoin or whatever crypto that she has. And she shouldn't have talked to her friends about it. That's not what happened. A French tax official was indicted last June for allegedly using tax records to identify crypto holders and passing info to organized crime networks. KYC is literally kill your customer. That's what's happening. So if you think I follow the rules, I don't talk about crypto, I don't say anything on social media, people don't even know it. Well, guess what? You just need one crazy guy in your tax service industry to start lollygagging and just selling all your information to organized crime members, and then off you go. Same thing happened with Coinbase. They had a tertiary online customer support service in another country, and those people were selling information of Coinbase users to organized crime syndicates. And those people were then targeted, and wrench attacks happened. So, like I said, well, two things. If you're worried about it, I would do that. Diversification. And if you're really, really worried about it, this is why I think people get into ETFs. Because I'm not dealing with this trash. And I commend them for that. And that's it. Anyhow, I want you to think about that. And lastly, I have to ask everybody a question. I don't know if anybody's interested in this, but on the 12 days of Christmas, I gave away the Gemini, the Google Gemini crypto report, which is free. You just type in report and boom, it just gives you like a nice report about what's going on. Gives you the basics, what's happening in the industry, the highs and the lows, and it pretty much just crunches all the data to give you like a really condensed report for the day. Very nice, very slick, very easy, and 100% free. And then I've been recently playing around with this AI Studio. And I talked about this on NFA Live yesterday. And I've just been doing this because like one of the charity organizations I work with here, Amigos de los Animales, they got a really crappy website. I mean, it's adorable, but it's crappy. And like they have poor links, very difficult to move things around, and they don't even have the right like forms for volunteering. Anyhow, so I'm using this Google AI Studio, and it just creates these beautiful websites. I just point the domain to. And then on top of this, I was using Google Studio on the live version, and it would just do a share screen. It just pretty much told me what to do. And it wasn't like I didn't know any coding. It was awesome. And it made this website, which was pretty nice. Anyhow, I was thinking, if you'd like to learn some things about AI, I'm thinking about doing like a little quick series about how this works and how people can do things. And if that sounds good, let me know in the comments section. I think it's pretty cool. Like in this one, the AI matchmaker, like I want a dog that is older and well-trained. Match. Yeah, that's my dog actually. But yeah, it just matches you up the dog that they have in the shelter. So if you want to learn how to do that, I could do it. It's a very quick one. It's very simple. But let me know in the comment section. That's it for today. So look, if you like today's video, give a thumbs up, consider subscribing. We talked about is time sensitive, even though today was a little bit late. Just got a lot of things going on in the background, and this is just one of those days. So if you got to take off. I appreciate you. Now let's get into Q&A. All right. Let's see. From Twitter, Starlink is being blue jammed in Iran. Proof from inside Iran downloaded 0.15 megabytes upload. That's like my speed in Puerto Rico, 0.01 megabytes per ping. Jitter. Well, that's a bummer. I guess they should use that Bitchat. Sounds pretty good. All right. Can it match me with people? I'm into dogs. I'm not into dogs. I wish, Rusty, that's a whole new app that I don't want to delve into. Let's see. Fryuk says, serious question, whatever happened to Farcana? Price plummeted basically to zero, and they are migrating what you can unstake your tokens from Polygon. No idea. I invested in that. Didn't take my funds out. Didn't take profits like I was supposed to, and who knows? Another play to earn game that just didn't work out. Like a lot of businesses that don't make it. So, I have no idea, unfortunately. Plato says, that is misdirection from Elon, I reckon. Think about it. Classical Mossad misdirection. Okay. I don't know if that's what it is, but let's hope so. I barely trust myself with my own Bitcoin. I don't blame you. I just don't trust the other people that know who we all are. It's kind of important to keep a little anonymity, and then hopefully not have to not get wrench attacked. I wouldn't go to France because France is no longer France. I don't know what's going on over there. Yeah. Emma says, before you buy a house with 20,000 pieces of Bitcoin, that was before. Now with just 3 coins of Bitcoin, you can buy a decent house, a pretty nice house. I mean, you could buy a better house on October 6th when Bitcoin was $125,000. But yeah, I mean, pretty much that's true. Let's see. This is true. Same old, same old. The rich and power mad do whatever they want to. Yeah. Plato says, I'm just an old dog that is well trained. Just ask my wife. She's my owner. It's adorable. Yeah, Ryan says, not blaming you in the same boat with that. Just wondering what the heck. I don't know what happened to these. It's a shame, isn't it, right? I mean, you have like a good product. It was a good game. It looked pretty awesome. It wasn't a big game, but I'm like, I can see people getting into that. Makes sense. Throw a little money that way. And it just doesn't work out. That's it. This is why, like, I understand now why people get away from the whole like gambling of alts. I understand now why people just give up on alts altogether. I haven't given up totally on alts. I still think that there is the best version of them: Binance, Ethereum, Solana, Tron. Oh, I got to show you guys something too. I like those are what I think are going to do pretty well. Just look at the stable coins and such. But some of the other ones that are out there, I don't know. Let's see. But there was something I wanted to show you. This one right here. I want to see that anybody can figure this out. I posted this today, and I talked about how there is, mostly Bitcoin beat pretty much every altcoin. I mean, a ton of altcoins out there. There's some winners, obviously, but most, like 99% of the alts, maybe, Bitcoin beat over a nice time horizon, especially a couple of years, And I said, hey, this altcoin is in the top 20 and is outperforming Bitcoin relatively massively on the Does It Bleed to Bitcoin chart. So if it's in green, it means that it's beating Bitcoin. And this altcoin, again in the top 20, going back 6 years, has beat Bitcoin on returns. And it's not something you would think of. But anyhow, I'm just curious, like, start throwing out some alts in the top 20, and I'll show you what it is. Let's see. Punch Clock says, I hope the Christians protesting the Islamic government are successful. I know for Iran, they primarily were a religion called Zoroastrians. I forgot the name. But essentially one of the oldest religions out there. It was just interesting how they went from that to Muslim country to now going back. I don't know. Let's see. What about my alts? Depends on the alts. Depends on the alts. Dogecoin. Let's see. Close. Tron. Okay. BNB. All right. Looking good. Doge. Yeah, the Persians were Zoroastrians. Yes, exactly. Zoroastrians. Zoroastrians. Zoroastrica. And Jim, sweet. Well, let me just show you. There's this great website. And it's called In the Cryptoverse. And there's this great section that you can just kind of see. This is called Does It Bleed? And I was taking a break, just perusing the different altcoins that potentially were getting crushed by Bitcoin for years. And Ethereum, as you can see over here, just got slaughtered for, unless you go back 5 years. 5 years, you're up 8.6%, just saying. 6 years, 98%, 7 and 8. But if you would have gotten, it's pretty sad. Well, if you would have gotten Ethereum back when it was like a nickel or whatever, you would be up 1,440%. So congratulations. But over like 6, 7 years, not so great. So let's see. I got a lot of call for Dogecoin. Solana. Dogecoin. I didn't even check. Well, not too bad. I mean, over the last 4 years, if you were holding Doge, you would have been sucking. But if you would have bought Doge like 5 years ago, you'd be up 500%. 6 years ago, but that's a long time to hold it. 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 77. Yeah, you'd have to get it pretty early. But yeah, for the 4 years, so pretty close, but not recently. So it's not Dogecoin. I saw a lot of BNBers, which was, that actually made sense. But pretty close. 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, you're up 70%. 1 year, 33, 2 year, 51%. But then 3 and 4 year, you're still down. But if you would have held for 5 years or 6 or 7, not too bad. But those 3 and 4 years, that's a long time to hold and not do it. And then I know a lot of people said Tron. which, I mean, come on. Tron is Justin's son, that ridiculous marketer that he is, and making foolish announcements of announcements of announcements. Why would Tron do it? Anyhow, it was Tron. It was. So just going back all the way up to 7 years and 8 years, you didn't do so hot, but the max is 874, and 6 years on, you're up 88, 5 years on, 290, 107, 3% for 3, not too good. 2, 1 year, 6 months from it. It's interesting, isn't it? Why Tron would be so well. Like, why would that Tron and Justin's son? I don't know. It is what it is. So now you got to think about like your altcoin, and you got to think to yourself, why the hell is my altcoin? Why is my altcoin bleeding against Bitcoin? You know? And I mean, if we could take a look at, you know, what this bleeds to, if you want to take gold or silver. I think you can take gold or silver, as a matter of fact. The standard, yeah, you can see if it. This is why Ben's website is pretty cool. Commodities, gold spot, yeah, okay. Yeah, not too bad. Geez, Tron went pretty good against gold, except for like the last year, negative 23%. But yeah, 31, 126, 82, 87, 60. But yeah, you can do all this stuff. So, but you have to ask yourself, again, you have to take a real hard look at yourself or at your project and go, why is this sucking so much? Like there were some people asking me about Cardano, if I still believe in it. I'm like, you know, the tech's fine, it's good. Charles, whatever. But I don't know what's going on with the foundation. I mean, you got to take a look at it and go, what are they doing? What are they doing? Is that adoption coming or not? Price action wise, well, let me just show you. As far as price action, let's see. Maybe it's doing as good as Tron. I forgot to take a look at it. So if we pick Cardano, hold on. First, let's go against Bitcoin. Ooh, it's nice. Tron, Cardano. And let's see how, I mean, it's probably doing pretty, no, it's doing awful. And it's actually clearly in the red. Oh my God, 8 years, negative 92%. That's a long time to wait against Bitcoin. Negative 66%, negative 3, 5 years, negative 46, 84% bleed. Jeez. That's a record. Don't worry, Cardano holders, I'm with you. Ah, just awful. Anyhow. Oh, oof. That's funny. Oh, yeah. What is that Canton network thing? I'm not for sure, but I believe that I think one of the big institutions is actually getting into Canton. Privacy, something or other. Who knows? The same narrative also can be applied, I think, to Zcash and their privacy aspect of it, just like with Midnight and Cardano, but it doesn't seem to be taken off too well. Let's see. Solana. I didn't do that one. Well, let's take a look. Well, the bleeder can be Solana. And it's better than Cardano, I'll tell you that. Let's see. Well, I mean, 1 week, 2%, 1 month, 3 month, you're down almost 7%. 6 months, you are up 11, but over a year, you're down 25%. 2 years, 30%. However, with 3 years, you are up 58%, which is pretty good. But then you got the 4 year, 55. And if you were lucky enough to buy all the way back when Solana was like nothing, then you are up massively. But this 3 years, probably your saving grace if you were buying back then. Other than that, 2 years and going forward, not that great. And you're taking more risk. But having said that, I still have a nice fat bag of Solana. I wish it would do better. And maybe it will. Who knows? And that's it, I think, everybody. I think I answered everybody's questions. So that's it, I think, for today. So it's pretty good. Like, look, I mean, these are the times, like we talked about before. The bear market, this is when everybody makes, this is where the fortunes are made. When it is boring and it is moving sideways and there's no action to it. If it was easy, everybody would do it. That's the problem, though. Not so many people can do it. And I gave like probably the worst pep talk of all time on NFA Live, where I pretty much told people that they weren't going to make it, and that to be in the top 1% is pretty difficult. And majority of people were like, "F that guy," and I can understand why. But the people that were like, there was one guy that said, "I'm going to tune in to Rob for these motivational speeches every week." The people that took a listen to that and said, "You know what? F Rob, I'm going to show him how it's done. I'm going to be that 1%. Those are the ones that probably usually make it. That's it for tonight. So look, like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, night, evening.